We all know the financial causes for the housing crisis: free government money, lax lending, and excessive executive payouts. But in a culture where excess is advertised everywhere and people want what they can't afford, our next guest wonders if perhaps we are all to blame as well. Connie DeGroot from Coldwell Banker joins us now. Connie, how big a factor do emotions play in a bubble versus, say, government intervention and lax money and all the other stuff that goes into it?
Well, I think, when it comes to housing, people are very emotional. Many times they walk into a house and they want this house and they'll do whatever they can. The difference, what happened recently, is that people have always wanted to have something, have more than maybe what they could afford, but you couldn't do that. You went to the bank and they would say, I'm sorry, we're not going to loan you, we're not going to give you this money. But in the last several years, you could go to the bank and you say, I need a loan for maybe, X amount of dollars. And they'd say, well, I can do that loan, but I can also give you more. And so, you know what I mean? And so people, they were always going,
But
I thought I could only...
That's not
That
emotion.
is government, exactly. So because they wanted to make homes affordable. And, and I think that in theory, it's a good idea to make homes affordable for more Americans, but taking anything to an extreme becomes very bad. And that's what we did. We took it to an extreme.
If this is a chicken and egg scenario, because on one hand, we all talk about the government made this problem. They made those houses more affordable. They gave us the impression that we could afford those homes. But what happened was those that even tried to remain conservative, all of a sudden their neighbor was running out and getting a McMansion for the same rate that they were paying for this little house over here. And all of a sudden you had to compete with your neighbor.
Right.
And you had to keep up with the Joneses. And so the problem exacerbated. And then everybody had to have the brand new kitchen, the 3-car garage,
We were all in. But you know what? Not everybody was in. In fact, the majority of people actually did the right thing, and they looked at this and they said, this doesn't make sense. This just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to participate. And I'm sure that you were one of those people.
I waited.
I know it.
I have not been an owner. I've been waiting because since I moved to New York in 1996, and I couldn't afford an apartment until, say, 5 years later. And by then, I thought they were outrageously priced already. They'd been already doubled since I'd moved here. Talk a little bit about that. Where are we in the real estate cycle? Is the country now a uniform body? Does it, or as we used to hear, my whole life I used to hear about location, location, location. Real estate was all about each location. Where are we in a cycle at this point?
I would say it still is about location. If you break down all the different areas, even just in Los Angeles, it's all over the map. I would really like to know, in the high end, whether it's like the Hamptons, they're up 30% over last year. Beverly Hills, homes that are over 10 million, we're selling almost double than we did a year ago. But on the low end, we're seeing different things. And then right in the middle, we're seeing other things happen. So I would say that, right now we're probably bouncing off a bottom. We're close to bottom in some areas. We're actually rising from the bottom in the Inland Empire in Southern California, where there's been so much competition between investors and regular buyers out there. So I think that when you get well below replacement costs, and at one point in time, you know this, Cody, there's going to have to be more homes that are built because there hasn't been a lot of building lately. And at that point, if you're buying, 50% below what it costs to build, you're going to, if you can hang on to that house for a couple years, you're going to do well. And exactly.
What happens with our country's addiction to real estate then? Because we have such high expectations now for what a home is. It's no longer just shelter, a place you go to sleep and eat and wash your clothes. I mean, these are sanctuaries now. The idea of a home has completely changed.
Well, I grew up in a family. My dad he was in the military, and we had a nice life because my dad sold homes on the side, and he bought one house, and then he bought another one, and that's how he gave us a good life, and that's how he has a good life. So I am a firm believer that if you buy, and you know what you're doing when you buy, and you can hang on to it until it's the right time for you, then in the long run, because real estate is a long-term investment, you will be wealthier. Because most of us are not going to be able to really grow with salaries alone. So it's a nice wealth-building experience that most people, even with a high school education, can take part in.
It used to be. Let's hope it is again.
Yeah. It will be.
I know that whole idea of the starter home just kind of like went out the window.
Well,
it's jump right into the big house.
You know what? Nobody wanted to get informed. They just went out and they just bought things. Now we all know that we need to,
Hopefully
we need to be educated. We need some help.
All right, Connie, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Join us in the bar on that. On tap, guys, there are choices a president needs to make.